is December 24th, 2021, and it is 7:33 a.m. And of course, I am here at the water. Let's just do a surrounding check real quick. Let's just do a view check, a view check of the glory. And the sun is just starting to break out, so it's not super bright yet. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me share my story. So today, again, the mini series that I'm gonna be doing, or whatever you want to call it, but it's gonna be called "The Love That I Found" other videos, and it's just basically gonna be a compilation of stories of my own personal life that I have personally gone through. And the purpose of me telling these stories is to ultimately has been all around me, has been in me through these various trials and tribulations and situations, and ultimately how his greatest blessings come forth from our darkest moments, right? So today's story is titled His Gift. And so about 12 years ago, I was pregnant with my second child. And um, it was a girl. And when I became pregnant, I was like, excited, but a little bit apprehensive and a little bit scared, because I was like, okay, I already have one child, and I was kind of like just beginning to settle in on being a new mom. And I think my daughter was like 2 at the time when I became pregnant with my second child, going on 3. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to love another child as much as I love my firstborn? Like, I just had like all of these like different emotions going through me and flowing through me, and just scared, a lot of moments, and just very uncertain, unsure. And then other times I was just like, you know what, maybe I'm not ready for this, maybe I need to, get rid of it, because unfortunately that's an option here in the USA, probably many other places. So I had like all of these emotions going through me, but ultimately I was like, I know that abortion isn't for me, because I just believe in life. And so I was just like, okay, but a part of me was just like still so torn and so unsure. And I'm just like, Father, like, maybe you could just take this from me, because I can't will myself or bring myself to have a procedure like that done. But maybe you could just take this from me, okay? Because this is just too much. I already got one. I don't know what I'm gonna do with another one. Like, it's already hard enough. And so I kind of was trying to find myself in that situation, right? Trying to figure out what was it that I really wanted. And I had to figure out fast, okay? Because here I am, I'm pregnant. This baby's growing every single day, and the reality gets closer and closer that eventually this child is going to be here. And whether I'm ready or not, it's going to be here, and I'm going to have to do what I have to do. So, needless to say, I was about like 5 months pregnant, and I decided at this point, of course, keeping a child, which really wasn't too much of a big decision to begin with, because, again, I don't believe in abortions, but, the whole time I'm praying and hoping, like, Father, just take this from me, just maybe you could just, do something to just resolve this situation for me. And so I was 5 months pregnant, and I had went to have my regular, checkup done, because you have to do prenatal care. So I went for my regular prenatal appointment, and they was like, well, hey, we want to do a 24-hour urine um, collection on you, because we seen a little bit of what was it? I think it was a little bit of was it sugar, protein, not sugar. I think it was like, I can't remember, but it was something in my urine, and it indicated that it could be a sign of something going wrong, right? So they were like, we want to do a 24-hour urine collection on you to make sure everything's okay, so we're going to do this collection. So they sent me home with this whole little kit, little red little bin. You take it home, and you got to, give you a little hat. You gotta, put you gotta collect your urine in it, and you put it in this little red container they give you, biohazard container, and you have to do that for 24 hours. And then you hand it in to them after the 24-hour period, and then they test it and do what they gotta do, right? So I went ahead. It took me a couple of days because I didn't do it at first. I went ahead and I finally, eventually got it done, and I handed it in. And I remember I was with my daughter's father, and we were traveling into the city to go shopping or whatever. And I'm pregnant. I done walked, and I'm tired at this point. I'm like, listen, we done shop, we done did all of this stuff. Like, I need to get some food. So I went to the Chinese restaurant. I ordered some chicken wings, and so I'm eating the chicken wings, and all of a sudden, I don't know what hit me. Okay, but it was like, I don't even know. It's just like this sickness just instantly fell upon me, and my stomach just started hurting so bad. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? What is going on here? So I knew something wasn't right because it's nothing I never felt before. And I'm just like, it don't feel like, maybe you ate the wrong food and you got a little stomach virus, or, I just knew like instantly like something is not right. So, so now, it's getting worse and worse at this point, and I'm just like telling my daughter's father, like, something is not right. I don't like, my stomach is just starting to hurt so bad. And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. Nothing's wrong with you. Just lay back, get some fresh air. Everything's gonna be okay. And so I'm driving, right? So he's in the passenger seat. I'm driving. So I'm telling him, like, listen, you have to drive. Like, it's getting to the point where, like, my stomach is, like, starting to become, like, an excruciating pain. Like, I cannot bear to even drive no more. Like, you have to drive. So, um, what happens when you unevenly yoke with a person, right? What happens? You bring sometimes pain upon yourself by being in situations that you're not supposed to be in, especially situations that he doesn't call you to be in, or relationships that he doesn't call you to be in. So he's like, um, oh, you're right. Go ahead. You got this. You could drive. You okay? But he's talking about something's wrong with you. You just fine. We was just walking on, in the city. You was perfectly fine. Dan, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm telling him like, listen. And then I began to get so nauseous out of nowhere. I had to pull over because I got so nauseous and I just threw up everywhere. And then he seen I was serious, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like something's wrong. What are you throwing up for? What's wrong with you?" I was like, and then as soon as I threw up, like the pain got worse. Okay, and it wasn't like contractions. It wasn't like a dull ache. No, this pain was like somebody was like literally trying to rip my spine out through my back. Like that's how it hurt. That's how bad it hurt. Like it was on 1,010. I was just like, and I just started crying, and I'm throwing up everywhere, and I'm crying, and I'm like, you have to get me to the hospital, right? And so this man, okay, like I said, and I don't hold any resentment or anything against anyone, because at the end of the day, situations happen for a reason, I feel. And I feel like everything is meant to teach you a lesson, right? And sometimes our hardest lessons are taught when we don't expect them, and when we're not listening to what the creator is trying to lead us to do, right? So this was one of those hard lessons for me. But he was like, I'm not taking you to the hospital. No. So now we on the highway, okay? We going back, we're traveling back into Long Island from the city, which is about like an hour and 30 minutes from where we live. And he's like, I'm not going to the hospital. No, I'm going to take you to the house, and you're going to have to call an ambulance or something. And so now at this point, like I am in so like I feel like I'm about to die. Okay, I feel like I am about to die. Like I'm checking out. This is the end for me. Like I don't know what's happening, but I know that it is all wrong. Like I was just in so much pain. So he did what he said he was gonna do, and believe people, okay, when they show you who they are the first time too. Anyway, he did exactly what he said he was gonna do, and he drove me home. Okay, and when I get home, I called my sister because she lived not too far from me. And he just was like, listen, there's a party happening for my sister because his sister passed away. And he was like, there's a party, this party is happening for my sister. We don't win, we don't got outfits. I'm not about to waste the outfit. And I'm going to the party. And he left me. and seen the pain, the agony, I don't know if maybe he didn't understand the seriousness of the situation, but like for me, I'm not a whiner at all. Like I don't just sit around and cry and whine, and like that's not who I am. Like I could be in the worst of the worst of pain and you would never know it because I'm always going to smile, carry a smile on my face regardless of what situation that I'm in. And so I'm not a whiner. So you would think that when he seen that I was just, in such distress, that he would have been like, wait a minute, like something is not right here. This is not her. Let me see what's going on. Isn't the case. And so he left and he went to the party anyhow. And I ended up calling my sister and I'm crying and she's like, what's going on? And I'm explaining to her what's happening. And she's like, I'm coming over right now. And she got in her car. She didn't live too far from me, maybe like probably about like 10 minutes, 20, yeah, about like 10 minutes away. And she got there and she called the ambulance for me. And I was just like, just trying to find every comfortable position that I could possibly find to put myself in because I was in so much pain. And the ambulance finally came, arrived, and I got in the ambulance with them, and she followed behind. And my blood pressure was like through the roof, and of course, because when you're in pain, your blood pressure naturally is gonna be high anyway. It's gonna be elevated. And so we get to the hospital, and I just remember them wheeling me in a wheelchair. And I just remember like I couldn't breathe. And I'm telling the nurses, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. I feel like I can't breathe. And they're like, oh, you're okay. Like, that's all I remember is telling them I couldn't breathe. And the next thing you know, I guess I woke up to them asking me, what's your name? What's your date of birth? And I'm just like so disoriented and like coming to. I'm like, what's happening? Why are you asking me these crazy questions? Like, of course I know my name. Of course I know my date of birth. Of course I know my address. Like, what happened? And they were like, you just had a seizure. And so they're in the midst of like trying to figure out like what's happening. And I just remember like I was just so out of it. Like it was like my body was there but my spirit had like went someplace else. Like it was like I was aware of what was happening, but it was so I don't even know how to explain it. It was like as if, okay, I'm aware of what's going on and I can hear what's going on, but somehow some way I was in so much pain that because they still didn't give me any medication at this point, so the pain is still pretty severe. And it's like my spirit just literally like detached from my body because I couldn't feel pain anymore. And I just remember laying in that hospital bed and just praising him and worshiping him and thanking him for what I do not know. And did I have the gift of tongues at that moment? No, I did not have the gift of tongues at that moment. So it was very English prayer, okay? But it was a deep, like heartfelt prayer. Like I just remember just being in prayer and just thanking him. And then at another point, I remember my pastor coming into the room and he prayed with me and then he left. And I don't know what happened. All I remember hearing was she's seizing, and I guess I went into another seizure. And then I remember another point, the doctor coming in and was like, listen, we have to, deliver the baby because if we don't deliver the baby, you could pass away or your baby could pass away. And like I said, it was just like the situation was so severe in that moment that I wasn't even aware of how severe it was. It was like he literally took me and just like literally put me in a place where I could feel no pain, where I couldn't even focus on the situation. It's like, and I think I was alone in that moment because I'm tearing up, but this is a touching story for me, and I don't really talk about things that like that's so like touchy for me. I stay away from touchiness, okay? And um and so I was just like, and I think I was alone at one point because although my sister was there, I think she stepped out of the room or whatever, and or she hadn't got to the hospital yet. I don't think she had got to the hospital yet because when they wheel you in, like they just whisk you to the back or whatever. Especially my situation being what it was. So I was there by myself. The pastor came, he he prayed for me, but then he left, and I was there alone. And and so they're like, we have to deliver the baby. Like, we have to do this pronto right now, ASAP. Like, if we don't, you and the baby could pass away. So I'm just like, okay. And it's again, I was like, so oblivious. Like, I hear what they're saying, but I can't get worked up about it. I'm not getting overly excited about it. I'm not afraid. I'm just like, just in euphoria. Like, it's just like I'm just in another world. Okay. And so they come in. My sister finally gets there, and they explain it to her what's happened, and she's crying, and 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 then they was like, well, we gotta prep her, and so they prep me and get me ready for surgery, and removing my jewelry, and all that good stuff, and medicated me at this point now, and again, I was like already in a fog. I think that if they would have just went ahead and did the emergency C-section, that I probably would not have even known what was going on, because I was just in such a fog already. Like, and so, and it was like, okay. And then she called my daughter's father, and she's like, listen, you have to get to the hospital, like, right now. She is about to deliver this baby. Like, they are saying it's an emergency and the baby is coming. They have to get the baby out. And he's still like, all right, I'm gonna come after the party. And she like, what are you talking? No, what are you talking about? Like, did you not hear what I said? This is serious. You have to get here right now. And so he ends up showing up about, like, not too long after. He ends up coming, and a little bit upset that he wasted money on an outfit, and now he had to be at this hospital with me and our child, who was soon to be born. And so he gets to the hospital, and they prep me, and now, okay, they're like, we got to get her in. So at this point, my sister's still there at the hospital with me, and she they wheeled me to the back, and I mean into the emergency room. I mean into the operating room. And so she was gonna come, like, she was getting, she's like, I'm gonna come in with her. I'm gonna be there for the surgery. And my daughter's father's like, no, 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 I'm here. I'm going in. So I'm laying on the table, okay, waiting to get cut open. I'm like, what's going on? Where's my daughter's father? And they could not find him nowhere. And at this point, my sister left, because she's like, okay, well, only one of us could be, so I'm gonna go home. Everything's gonna be all right. And we hugged and we kissed, and she told me, I love you, and she left, and trusting that he was gonna be there. And they went out to go find him, to bring him in, and he was nowhere to be found. So they were like, well, we have to continue with the surgery. We cannot wait for him. We got to get the baby out. So they do the surgery, and they deliver my baby. And I just remember looking at her, and she was just so little, and her skin, it was like, because she was only, I think I delivered at 25 weeks. I was 25 weeks when they delivered her. So they let me see her for a brief moment, but I couldn't hold her. And, I, I don't even think I got a chance to kiss her, because they were like, we got to hurry up and get her to NICU, because they had to hook her up to all of this stuff, and make sure they're taking care of her so that she will survive. And so they took her to NICU. And not too long after, they finished prepping me and sewing, they finished what they had to do with me and sewing me up and all that good stuff. So that was my first C-section experience, and it was crazy. And then later on, what happened to him? Oh, he was in a hospital bed, and he was sleeping. So that's what the story was. The nurse ended up finding him after the fact, that he was sleeping in a hospital bed, and they didn't see him in the room sleep, because the room was dark. So I went through that experience not alone when I look back, because the Father was with me. His hand was upon me. And even though no one was there physically, he was there. And I believe that he was orchestrating the hands of those doctors. And he had my spirit in a place where it couldn't interfere with what was going on, because it was like he was doing something through me, even though the situation was so critical. Even in that moment, he was still moving. His spirit was still upon me. And so my daughter, she spent the next 3 months of her life in NICU, in an incubator. And I went up there every day, and I prayed with her. I held my, well, for the first, I think about like month or so. First like month or two, I couldn't even hear her because they had a tube down her throat. So she couldn't cry, couldn't, I didn't even know what it was like to hear my baby cry. And I couldn't hold her. So I didn't even know what it felt like to have that, experience, that bonding experience that you first have when your baby's born. Because she was in an incubator, and she was so delicate. Her skin was transparent. She didn't even have skin. Her eyes weren't even open yet. They weren't even fully developed to the point of where they could be open. She looked like, and I think I have some pictures. I'm gonna see if I can create a thumbnail and post it as the thumbnail. But I have to dig up my pictures and see where I put the pictures. I still have her pamper. It was just like, just like about this little, and it was still swimming on her. and and so for the next 3 months, she laid in that incubator, and I went up there tirelessly. I was there morning, noon, and night. I was, making sure that 3 a.m. I was there for feeding. I was there, like, just making sure I was there. And that was another experience that I had to go through alone. I had to go through alone. I think my daughter's father went up to the hospital one time, and that was that. And on top of me dealing with this whole situation, life is still happening. I'm enrolled in college. I'm trying to complete my degree, and so I'm having to deal with that. And on top of, the fact of dealing with this very critical situation with my daughter. And so all I had to do, like left in me to do, was pray. That's all I had to do. So I would just go up to that hospital with my baby, and I would just stick my hand in the incubator and just put them over her, and I would just pray for my daughter. And, it was moments when I stood in there and I cried, and then eventually I was, she got better through all she went through. The breathing tube was finally removed. She had to have laser eye surgery because they wanted to make sure her eyes would develop properly. So they had to correct a few things to ensure that was possible. She had a Broviac put in her neck, which is like a line they put into her, like her main artery in her neck to be able to give her different things that they needed. Like they call it a lifeline. So basically anything pertaining to her, to ensuring, that she was going to be okay, they used the Broviac. And so she had all these things going on, and all I could do was pray. Like I just prayed even when I wasn't with her. I just was in constant prayer. And so many times I went up there and the doctors is constantly telling me she might not make it, and we don't know, if she's gonna live. And so, not only am I dealing with this, but I refused to listen to what the doctors had to say, because I knew that the father had a different plan. And so I said, okay, yeah, in the moment I cried, and I was just, and my mom was my greatest support in that moment. She lived out of state. But even on the phone, when the doctors, I would call her and I'm crying, oh my gosh, they told me this, they told me that. And, she was always my strength to pick me back up. Like, listen, you already, look at how far she's already came. There's no way that, the Father, the creator of all things, is going to bring you to this point only to fail you. He's brought you this far. He's going to continue to bring you. Just, stay in prayer, keep praying, keep praying. That's all I had, y'all. All I had in that moment was prayer. And so I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and I sang to my daughter. When I was eventually able to hold her, I would just hold her. And they call it like when you get to bond with your baby. So you do skin to skin. So I took off my clothes and I laid on my chest, and I would just sing to her and rock in the rocking chair and just sing to my baby and pray over my baby and talk, speak life into my baby. I would speak life into my baby who was trying to fight for her life. And I remember thinking, I'm like, Father, I will never, ever in life ask you to take a gift away from me that you have given me. Because if you guys rewind back to the beginning of when I began this story, I was just like, take this from me, Father. Just do something with this baby because I ain't ready. Maybe you could cause me to have a miscarriage or something. Like the things I was thinking was crazy and insane. And then when I, and it's so funny how when I'm in this situation now, what I was praying for him to take away from me, now I'm praying for, and I'm praying for him to keep it. You know, I'm praying for him to protect it. The very thing that I wanted him to take from me, I found myself fighting for. You know, and it's like we as humans can never know like what we want. You know what I'm saying? Like we can never know what we want. Like the very thing that we think we don't want, and the very or we don't need, and the very thing that we need, you know, it's the thing that we think we don't want. So, you know, it's just oh my goodness. Yeah, so it was just it I just, you know, seeing it so clear, and I'm just like my like never again will I sit here um and pray against the gift that you've given me, you know. And for any child that's born, like, you know, it might have been out of, you know, being raped, or um it may have just been an unexpected pregnancy, something that you didn't expect to happen, or maybe you're young, you're a teenager, or maybe you feel like you're too old, and or maybe you're just self-centered. I'm not ready for a baby, you know, and now it happened, and it's like, oops, what do I do? You know, take it back. What do I do? And I will say that whether you do miscarry or whether you do have an abortion, like that pain of losing a child stays with you forever. It stays with you forever. And I say that because I know the pain that I felt almost losing my child, you know, and if it would have been, you know, the latter, and her spirit would have gone on, it would have been something that I never would have been able to get over. Like that pain would always be with me till this day. Do you learn to move on in life and kind of deal with your emotions? You do, but it doesn't ever completely leave you. Oh my gosh, the sun is coming out and it's so bright now. I don't know if you guys, okay, see, we can reposition. And and so that's my story. And now, guys, guess what? My daughter is 12 years old. Okay, she is 12 years old, and she is the light of my life. I absolutely love this little girl. Like, she has so much personality, so much spunk. Like, she has no physical disabilities. She doesn't wear glasses. She doesn't need an assistive device to walk. She doesn't need to be fed. She doesn't have a feeding tube. Like, she's just so perfect. And when the doctors hear of her story and they look at her, they're like, she is a miracle. You know, it's very rare that you see a child who has gone through the things that she has gone through without any type of delays or physical disabilities or limitations. Like, she's just, if you seen her, you would think she was never a preemie. Other than, you know, she's still like kind of on the small side. She's tall and slim now. And so she's always kind of been on the slim side. But other than that, like, you would never believe that this little 12-year-old girl had the start that she had in life. You would never believe it. Her just her personality, and just you know, the love that she has, and the happiness that radiates from her. It's like you would never ever have known that once upon a time she was in a situation and she was in where she almost lost her life. You know, you would never believe that when you see this little girl, that the amount of prayers that went into sustaining her, and the amount of love and the amount of compassion, you know, not only on my part but on the parts of the doctors. Because even when I wasn't present and I would walk in, the nurse would be sitting there holding her and rocking her. So it's like, even when I was off, you know, taking care of my other daughter, he had her protected. I trusted that she was in the best of the best hands with those nurses. Like, they absolutely loved my daughter. And I'm not saying that they don't love all the kids that come in the night queue, but just the exceptional love that I felt that they had for my daughter was just unbelievable. And it could have been nobody but him who could have orchestrated this whole situation. You know, and I'm just, on this day, December 25th, 2021, I am blessed to have received the gift of my daughter's life. And there is no gift greater than the ones that he gives. So I'm grateful on this day for my daughter's life. And I'm grateful on this day for my life, because even my life could have been taken. And I'm grateful that he's seen something better for both myself and my child. And so it's little stories like this that it's the love that I found in me that I'm like, wow, that's in me. This love that radiates from the universe, it's in me. It has the ability to reach through me and yet at the same time sustain me, to hold me. His gift is just, there's nothing better than, there's no earthly gifts, okay? There's no shoe, there's no piece of clothing, there's no game system, there's no car, um, there's no robe, there, you know, all the things that you might get on Christmas. There is nothing that you could possibly ever receive on this 25th day that is going to be greater than what he can give you. There's never, never, never. You can have the 25th day of December every single day, and it still is never going to amount to the gifts that he gives. His gifts are perfect. His gifts are perfect, and that's why we don't need a Christmas. We don't need a December 25th, right? To feel loved, to feel appreciated, to feel valued, to receive a gift. Because he gifts us every single day when we wake up and we breathe. That's a gift, right? Not everybody woke up and was able to breathe oxygen today. That's a gift. It's a gift in itself. Life is a gift in itself. And you don't realize how precious your life is until you've almost lost it. It is in that moment that you realize how precious life is, and also how very delicate the human body is. And so we're at 31 minutes now, and I'm just grateful to be able to share this story, the gift that he's given me. And I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day. Look at the sun, guys. Look at the sun. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, talk to you guys soon.